First of all, I'm just still in shock. I'm wondering how leaders like William Ruto were inflicted upon the African people. Look at the standard of leadership. When we're engaged in a struggle for national liberation, Modibo Keita, Sekou Toure, Kwame Nkrumah, America Cabral, Jomo Kenyatta, and so on. Now look at the type of leaders we have. Rubbish! How did we inflict these kinds of leaders on us? And look, you cannot miss the irony. Here is William Ruto sending Kenyan police people to Haiti to maintain law and order, to restore a certain level of stability at the instigation of the United States of America. Look at his own country. How can this irony be lost on us? And I'm hearing all kinds of comments and so on. What happened? When he went to see Joe Biden, after the discussions and so on, Kenya was designated as a non-NATO ally of the U.S. What does that mean? New colony, complete new colony of the United States of America. At a time when the African people, east, south, west, central, and so on, are struggling against the establishment of U.S. military bases across the continent, are struggling to enhance national sovereignty and so on, William Ruto goes to the U.S. and agrees that his country is a non-NATO ally of the U.S. Unbelievable. Look, in 1963, when African leaders met in Addis Ababa, they sought to craft a united Africa, common currency, common foreign policy, common defense policy, and so on. What has happened to that? Is William Ruto working for that objective? Is he working for the objectives set out in the final resolution of the 1945 Manchester Conference of the Fifth Pan-African Congress? Puppet, clear Western puppet. And that's the problem. Today, William Ruto looks us in the face and says that, the people's voice is important and that we have to listen to the people because it's the mandate of the people that we presidents exercise and so on. When did he come to that realization? After killing more than 20 Kenyans killed down. More than 100 Kenyans have been injured, some have lost their limbs and so on. Somebody must pay for those crimes. Those crimes committed against the Kenyan people. We've gone beyond the issue of the finance bill. Under whose orders did 20 Kenyans die? Under whose orders did more than 100 people suffer various degrees of injuries and so on? That's where we are today. And I'm so happy that the Kenyan people have decided that the demonstration continues unabated. And today, they are massing up in the streets, ready to demand full accountability from their government. Now, Kwame, look, our leaders, one of our problems is that our leaders have stopped thinking completely. They don't think anymore. These measures which William Ruto was introducing are impositions from the International Monetary Fund. They went to the International Monetary Fund for a bailout. They tax your people, tax the bread, and so on, so that you can generate resources to pay so-called foreign creditors. That is the crux of the problem. Meanwhile, look around Africa. Take Ghana. We have gone to the IMF 17 times. Every time we go to the IMF and we implement the measures they prescribe for us, our situation gets worse. To the extent that today in Ghana, I mean, the madness is so obvious. Our leaders are celebrating debt forgiveness, partial debt forgiveness. That's what they are celebrating. Our leaders are celebrating inflation at about 30%. Our leaders are celebrating what they call the haircut. People who put their pension money and so on in the banks, in treasury bills and so on, are having to lose large portions of their money. That's what our leaders are celebrating. Incredible. I can't believe it. And what is happening there is not substantially different from what is happening in Ghana. It's not substantially different from what is happening in Nigeria. It's not substantially different from what is happening all over Africa. What happened to us? He's talking about putting teachers in classrooms and so on. Meanwhile, he was vice president under Uhuru Kenyatta for how many years? What happened to teachers in classrooms and so on? Now you turn around after killing 20 innocent people whose only crime is that they stood up for their rights and so on. You're telling us about the need to put teachers in classrooms and so on. When did he realize that? Unbelievable. You understand? Completely unbelievable. Look, the problem with Kenya, the problem with Ghana, and the problem with all other African countries is that the path, the economic path we have embarked on, can only lead to total disaster. Neoliberalism is not going to liberate us from poverty. Neoliberalism is not going to free resources for industrialization. This neoliberal craze can only push us deeper and deeper into the hole. And that is what African leaders ought to realize. And if they don't realize, we the citizens have a responsibility to kick them out of office and to bring